So one day I was having this conversation with a friend where we were talking about some Nintendo related stuff, and the topic ended up coming to Mario 3. And my friend went on to quote Donkey by saying something around like, Super Mario Bros. 3, the only good game on the NES. To put it simply, I didn't agree, and hang on, let me clear myself. I can already see some of you in the comments typing, no shade to Mario 3. It's still the second best on the console, aided by the fact that most other games on there are and it ranked pretty well in my ranking of every Mario game, but I had to correct him by saying, no, Kirby's Adventure is. And for some reason, just that one snippet of that conversation has stuck with me. Kirby's Adventure was released on the NES in 1993, and is the second game of the Kirby franchise following 1992's Kirby's Dream Land on the Game Boy, and the second game legendary game director Masahiro Sakurai ever directed, following 1992's Kirby's Dream Land on the Game Boy. The console the game was released for, the Nintendo Entertainment System, doesn't really have a high level of quality. Of course, I respect it. This old thing was able to save the entire medium of video games, but the library just isn't all that interesting. The low-power system was fairly limited with what it could do, and a large sum of its library were simple arcade games as the medium was still moving out of those. Even the most prominent games of this time, like the original Super Mario Bros. And Legend of Zelda, fall a bit short because of their age. Mario 3 wasn't like that. It's well known that Mario 3 pushed the NES to its absolute limits, with more complicated sprite designs and a much bigger scope of content. And that's great and all, but if that game was considered to push the limits of the console, Kirby's Adventure pushed them all the way to the stratosphere, to the point where there was nowhere else to go. For starters, let's just look at the title screens. First up, Mario 3. Yeah, this is a classic. It's simple, especially with the no audio at all, but it does the job. Okay, so it's pretty good. It's beautiful. But hey, hold your horses, it's not like the game's strong enough to have save files or anything. Before we continue, it's good to note that this game was released 4 years after Mario 3, even releasing after the SNES was already out, so frankly, none of this should come as a surprise. Okay, time to fully focus on Kirby because I've insulted Mario 3 more than I've ever wanted to in my lifetime. Let's boot up into the first level, Vegetable Valley. This is a great introduction to this game, and as you come up upon your very first Waddle-Doo, you suck him in, swallow him, and boom! Beam Attack! Kirby's Adventure was the first game in the series that introduced copy abilities. It expands on the eating enemies concept laid out in Dreamland in a really unique way. Taking your enemies' powers and using them against them is the stuff of genius, and seeing as it's one of the biggest staples of the series, it's clear to see how big of an impact it had. It's definitely a lot more simple in this game compared to modern Kirby, where there you got a large array of possible moves, but oftentimes here you're limited to one attack. Sometimes though, that has benefits, like for this first ability. I don't really care for modern Beam, the moveset's a bit too limited and not at all versatile for fully satisfying combat. Here though, I find myself using the ability much more often. With one wave, it feels satisfying to wipe away the enemies in front of you. It's great in this game. With that said, as soon as the Blade Knight shows up on screen, the first thing I'm going to do is take Sword because it's a much better ability. I mean, look at this. You'll come up across Ice Cream Island next, and before I say anything about this, I have to comment on the music. So catchy and fits the vibe perfectly. It just makes the game feel much more adventurous and whimsical, and makes the gameplay really energetic. I adore the soundtrack of this game, and I'll point out more standouts when we get to them. This one is a perfect example on why I hold it to such a high regard. In this new area, you'll find another one of my favorite copy abilities in this game, Wheel. This is my only experience using it since I haven't played any other Kirby games that have Wheel as a present copy ability, which just makes Adventure's version of it feel a little special. There really isn't a feeling in this game quite like rushing at blazing speeds while anything in your path gets demolished. I'll take Wheel anytime I see it because it's one of the most fun copy abilities in the entire series. And it's usually accompanied by terrain that suits the ability, which makes it not only more fun but also practical. Using it for combat is surprisingly fun as well. It's best used in confined areas to constantly go back and forth running over whatever enemy you're going against, which proved useful against the boss because it was kinda annoying without it. Butter Building is one of my favorite worlds of the game just by its physical appearance. It's a really unique set piece that provides for a lot of cool locales. For example, you have Kirby rotating upon this spire. Despite its NES limits, I really like the effect, and it makes simply walking slower feel much grander than it has any right to. Here's where you encounter my favorite copy ability in the game. One that you don't really find as appealing in modern games due to some abilities like Sword getting insane movesets, while this one underwhelms. But here though, with a simpler moveset, it shines. Here's where you'll first fight Bonkers. It's a pretty basic fight like all of the other mini-bosses, but the reward for defeating him, Hammer, is amazing. Take Sword, a copy ability I've already sung the praises of, and just make it stronger. You gain some vertical range, it's physically stronger, and you can even hammer down stakes. Whenever I get this ability, the game partly becomes trying not to lose it, because if I could play the entire game with Hammer, I would. It's just perfect for Adventure's simple control scheme. But hey, back to Butter Building. The boss fight's nice, I guess. They got a spirit in Smash Bros, so cool, kinda. Anyways, Grape Garden is my second favorite area in the whole game, and for a good reason. It's got this serene feel that not many other worlds in the game capture. I love the use of purple here, where its bright pastels and deep shades are really pleasing. Even just as I'm simply writing, the memory of the strong yet pleasant scent of grape juice rings strongly in my nostrils. The music is fantastically calming and puts me at ease. Here we'll find the last copy ability I find noteworthy because, oh, is it special. UFO is one of the most unique and bizarre abilities in the game. It really breaks the conventions of simple attacks and allows for movements like a cursor with a D-pad. I couldn't appreciate it even more. I love its inclusion, and if it ever shows up, you know I'm going to take it. Grape Garden has this really cool airship level where wind constantly pushes you about and you fly from ship to ship. I find it really inventive and fun to explore. The first exit is pretty well hidden as well to add on to that. Hell, I found the button room before it. One of the best levels in the game, hands down. It also has one of the best bosses in the game. Unlike others in the game, you don't immediately start at the fight. Instead, you're supposed to use high jump to climb up clouds before they quickly disappear. The following fight with Kraku is also really fun with the ability, and it leaves a satisfying impact. Great fight. There's nothing really to talk about for Yogurt Yard aside from this cool falling part. I love falling sections of 2D platformers. Games should do that more often. I am also itching to get to my favorite world in the game by far, Orange Ocean. The pleasant color palette really works in favor of the sunset over the sea, which never fails to amaze my eyes. The music track that perpetuates the levels of this area is perfection. It starts with a catchy opening while later hitting you with some amazing and serene notes droning out as they lull you into a sense of peacefulness. And despite all that praise, this only manages to be my second favorite song in the game. And all you have to do to hear my favorite is step outside. There's something special about this song that I can't really explain. The length of the notes and the simple melody always manage to put me in a calm state. You've come so far in your journey. You've jumped and flown across countless levels. You experienced multiple powers with varying benefits. You've taken down some of the strongest creatures out there in an effort to restore Dreamland. Here you go. It's about time you deserve the rest. Lo and behold, this also has one of the best levels in the game. Navigating upon a ship, you'll journey across a plethora of seas until flying high above to the sails to find a warp star. It feels like this grand adventure, Kirby's adventure, huh? Just before the world ends, the levels transition into a relaxing ice theme, as if the first half wasn't relaxing enough. The music encompasses tranquility, but there's this sense of loneliness felt in this barren wasteland because of it. Either way, the levels are great, and the last one even has UFOs, which they somehow made a detriment. Alright, boss time. Who am I taking down now? Okay, I've been avoiding him for far too long. I think it's finally time to talk about how Kirby's Adventure handles the introduction of my favorite character in all of fiction, Meta Knight. Now, Meta Knight is much more than just his fight here. Otherwise, he wouldn't have become a mainstay, and I wouldn't be talking about him here. His involvement starts back all the way to the 4th level in the game. when this mysterious shadowy figure decides to help out and offer you up an invincibility candy, making the rest of the level a breeze. Lucky for us that we have a buddy to help us in our adventure. Kirby's Adventure! Now, even though this video is talking about the NES version of this game, Kirby's Adventure, for all intents and purposes, Nightmare in Dreamland, the GBA remake, is a much better version of the game and a better way to play it, so go with that one whenever it decides to pop up on Switch Online. The only exception is this, where Meta Knight is nowhere to be seen, and the invincibility candy is just there. It's just nice to know that you're getting help. Look, he even shows up later to aid us more. What the f*** is there a health bar? Apparently, this guy's just a bitch who tricked you into trusting him and is now sending his lackeys to attack you. These are the Meta Knights, only identifiable by this convenient dash. He'll send these guys after you 4 more times, and for the rest of the game, he's perceived as an enemy who fooled you at the start. Except, wait, he gives you another invisibility candy in Grape Garden. Why is he doing this? Why both help and attack? What could he possibly gain from that? From this point on, questions start to build up in your head, and we're not even done with the Meta Knight fights. You have one just before the boss fight, and now I believe we're finally back in that orange arena. Now, the fight doesn't start immediately. Meta Knight's offered up a sword, helping you, but you're still against him. What is he doing? This sword is the final puzzle piece to the mystery that is Meta Knight's motives. All this time, he's been testing your ability to fight. Meta Knight loves to spar. That aspect hasn't left him since, and neither has his offer. In almost every subsequent fight with him, the first thing you're asked to do is pick up that sword in the ground for a proper sword fight, and that's what you'll get for every encounter. Except Squeak Squad, but he had a good reason to do so the point still stands, huh? This is the most one-on-one fight in the game, where dodging Meta Knight's attacks feels imperative, and landing a hit with the added pixelation feels so rewarding. I genuinely struggled with this fight, and that's great. Once you finally manage to take him down, his mask shatters, and a face similar to yours stares back at you before quickly vanishing. That ending bit has been included in every single fight after this, which does neuter the shock value of it, but adds on to why he's so perfect. I mainly appreciate him because of his subsequent appearances, but Meta Knight's first outing was brilliantly executed, and it's no wonder he became a part of the core Kirby group. Okay, back to the video game. The final world, Rainbow Resort, deserves that status. I don't know what it is that just makes this place so special. Maybe it's the beautiful night sky complemented with a myriad of colors, or the easing music as if this game didn't have enough of that. But I find it mainly simply because it's the last. Your final world isn't some dangerous hot wasteland or gigantic tower. It's a place normally in peace, a serene landscape that I could honestly appreciate for hours. These last few levels are something else. All the skills you've learned are tested right here as so many lasts happen. Last mid-boss, last time using this ability, last time playing the goal game, and even your last invincibility candy from Meta Knight. Arriving at the final level, your mind is racing. What could possibly end this game? Some grand level including every important element? An adrenaline-inducing boss rush? No. It's even better than both of those. Welcome to the first reprisal of Green Greens. To include this in the second game in the series is honestly bewildering. Wouldn't it make more sense to wait a bit longer? That's what I think makes this rendition in particular so special. Instead of this insane gauntlet, this game decides to reflect on itself and the series as a whole. Like, this is the first and easiest level in the last game, so the fact that it's not challenging at all, yet still a great cap-off, just shows how powerful this is. The black and white added to this level just accentuates its importance and just makes it more fitting. I genuinely can't think of a better way of finishing off this game's set of levels. But we're not done. We've still got a royal pain to deal with. Nothing much has changed between DDD's fight in Dreamland and Adventure, and it's pretty solid. It's got a bit of that tactical feel I like with Meta Knight's fight, along with its own bit of goofy charm. And as he's defeated, the Star Rod is whole once again, and now it's time to put it back in its rightful place. Yeah, this game is 31 years old, which today's its birthday at the time of writing, which would have been nice if I could get it out on that day. Thanks, brain! Anyways, this game is old, you probably know the central twist. DDD was actually protecting everyone by splitting the Star Rod, and now that it's been put back in place, the true final boss shows himself. The first phase is unlike anything else in the game, and I love it. As you plummet from the sky, you have to hit the orb enough times before you fall face flat on the floor. It could be a bit annoying if you don't know what to do, but as long as you're more up close and personal with him and able to dodge his constant barrages, you can easily get the necessary damage to activate the second phase. Finally here, Nightmare awakens. The ocean of stars and dreamy glass platform rushing across you just heightens the fight. It's really fun to play around Nightmare's weak point and just smash B as soon as that tornado decides to show itself. Definitely the most challenging fight in the game, and yeah, it's the final boss, it should be. It's difficult to dodge the constant rain of projectiles while also only having a limited time and window to hurt him. The fight is thrilling and captivates me even as I'm sitting here watching it. The ending after you get the final blow is great. It's nice to see closure to all of us, and also see DDD be giving his deserved recognition after going from the main big bag from the first game to being a hero here. The main thing that makes it great though, is the music. Out of all the songs I've talked about that have put me at ease, this one embodies that feeling the most. It helps wrap up everything in an extravagant bow, and leaves me at the end of the game with a light smile on my face, and my troubles forgotten, if only for a moment. That's what Kirby's Adventure manages to do the entire time I'm playing it. Although not the most sensational game out there, it's a personal favorite of mine, and for good reason. It has simple, yet satisfying gameplay, it has so much personality, it's got excellent aesthetics, and come on, it introduced my favorite character ever. That alone is enough for me to at least respect it. And as it stands, barely any other game in the NES's library can come close to topping it. But in the end, doesn't matter, Uncle Ben. Both the valid answers in this competition have superior GBA remakes. Go play those, better than dealing with the frame rate drops both can have. Like, subscribe, next video either won't take as long or will be worth the wait, I promise. See you then.